Fitness influencer Wes Watson pleads guilty to aggravated battery for the jumping of Mr. Ibrahim at Elevation Fitness in Miami, Florida, December 29th, 2024. Welcome to Truth TV, where we tell the truth. Please subscribe for more. And if you don't mind, give this video a thumbs up. So Wes Watson, him and his Confederates beat this man up. He was crawling around. They were hitting him with weight training belts. They were hitting him with dumbbells. They were kicking him and punching him. This was all on video, by the way. They caused 2 black eyes. They caused a concussion. They caused a face fracture. But, with all of that evidence and the fact that the mainstream media picked up on what the bodybuilding media was doing, and I myself, with StrengthAddicts.com, also broke the story alongside John Bravo, alongside Baller Busters. It's crazy because a lot of people say, oh, these prosecutors are so gifted and they work so hard. And, there was a video here. There was a victim with clear-cut injuries. There was mainstream media attention, and yet negotiated plea. So Watson gets 21 months, credit for time served, 7 years of probation, which is actually, I feel like that's actually going to be way bigger than the whatever months he's going to do at prison with time served, because 7 years of probation is a major pain in the ass, especially for someone like him who is known to, after the Miami-Dade case, he picked up a multiple felony case for beating up and imprisoning his girlfriend/fiance. So with 7 years of probation, if he reoffends, they're going to violate him. He's going to go right back to prison. So the 7 years of probation is actually, I think, the most justice that is going to come out of this. But his attorney, Eric Klayman, made a bunch of just ridiculous statements in the hallway there after the negotiated agreement, after the plea was accepted. He said that Watson was remorseful, and we know that we know anybody that knows Wes Watson and the kind of crap he says on social media, the kind of crap he actually does, would find it very hard to believe that he was remorseful. Then Mr. Klayman said that his client, Wes Watson, didn't want to hurt Ibrahim. Well, if Wes Watson and Dumb Nick and Mr. Fuji and the other Confederates there were kicking him and punching him and hitting him with weight belts and dumbbells while he presented no threat at all to them, I would argue that he did want to hit him, okay? And he accepted a plea deal to aggravated battery. So for this guy to say that he didn't mean to hurt him is just, absolute bullshit. And then, because Wes Watson doesn't speak, his attorney speaks out in the hallway. And then, according to the Miami Herald, Mr. Klayman said, quote, "When you get into a fight, you kind of lose your way," end quote. What the hell does that mean? When you get into a fight, you kind of lose your way. This wasn't a fight. This was 5 versus 1. And the one never even landed a punch. The one was on the floor for like 99% of the fight, where they lost their way. It's a bunch of crap. And then the Miami Herald talks about how testimony from a psychologist was used who discussed Wes Watson's abuse of anabolic steroids and untreated mental health concerns. What is a mental health concern? I know what a diagnosis is. What is a mental health? It sounds like a bunch of crap is what it sounds like. It sounds like the steroids made me do it. An untreated medical health concern made me do it. I didn't mean to hurt the guy, but I'm going to go ahead and plead to aggravated battery. It doesn't make any sense, guys. It doesn't make any sense. But what we have here is an attorney that basically got his client off without having to do any major prison time, because he's already been in there for I don't know how long in custody. So he's going to get a lot of credit time served. And but the 7 years of probation is probably the part that Wes didn't want to do, and probably dragged his feet to the very last minute, because that is a major pain in the ass. Even the most liberal, hands-off probation is still probation. He still has to go to a PO, a probation officer. He still has to check in. They might do a urine test. He may not be able to use any drugs. He maybe is not going to be able to use anabolic steroids, although that he's going to be able to, because he's going to get a TRT a script or whatever. But at the end of the day, prosecutors really let me down on this one. I thought for sure that with major mainstream media attention. I mean, listen, the Miami Herald, I'm quoting the Miami Herald here, the New York Post, big newspapers with huge circulation. But Fox, I think, covered this as well. I mean, all of the major networks covered this. All of the major news periodicals covered this. In addition to, John Bravo Films, which is absolutely killing it. Really, really, really good content. Baller Busters, all of the big YouTube channels. Iron Mag TV may cover this as well. MyStrengthEdX.com, I'm definitely going to cover this as well and put the video up on there. But, I mean, it just goes to show you, man, even if you have a victim with real injuries, 2 black eyes, concussion, face fracture. Face fracture is the biggest of them all, but the concussion too. Sometimes a concussion, you go to sleep. If you don't wake up, you're warm food. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to make any kind of light of this. I mean, and the other crazy thing is that Mr. Klayman, from what I understand, tried to use the stand your ground defense, and the judge was like, "No, absolutely not." Wes Watson went way too far to use that defense. So. And then Mr. Ibrahim filed a civil suit where Elevation Fitness tried to get out of it, and the court said absolutely not. You're staying for the full ride. And according to the Miami Herald, Wes Watson is a part owner of Elevation Fitness, which I was not aware of. I knew that was like his HQ. I knew that's where he was doing all his personal training stuff. I knew that he was doing a lot of social media content from there, but I never knew that he actually owned a piece of the gym. So that might actually factor in on the civil suit, because if he owns a piece of the gym is definitely not getting off the hook. But when I first broke the story on StrengthEdX.com, the main owner of Elevation Fitness, Angel Bajana, said that I didn't know what I was talking about, that I didn't have the full story, that whatever he said to me on social media, he would say in court, in other words, perjure himself, which I don't think he's going to do, and that it was all self-defense. Well, it wasn't self-defense. Wes Watson pled to aggravated battery. There is a civil suit. Elevation Fitness can't get out of the civil suit. And on top of that, Wes Watson has a string of felony charges, which is what keeps him still incarcerated, despite the fact that this case is resolved. He can't get out. He cannot get out, because also he's going to have to do prison time on this Miami-Dade case. But let's see what happens in Broward County. If the Broward County prosecutors are even 20% more on the ball than the Miami-Dade County ones, this guy's going to be in prison for a long, long time. I think that giving him 21 months with credit for time served, and even though it does have 7 years of probation, I think is bad, Wes. Bad, Wes. Bad, Wes. Don't do that again, Wes. And, they had a video, they had a victim, they had a police report. The guy is had done, well, according to him, I don't know, because there was also debate about that, but he had done 10 years in the California prison system. He was a shot caller, according to some of his own videos. I mean, it's just one of those things, man. Even if you have video, these guys aren't going to do your work. And by these guys, I mean the prosecutors, because this is not, you didn't take this case. I mean, you would have put this case in front of a jury. He would have been guilty, as sure as I'm a bald dude talking into this camera right here. You know what I mean? I don't know why you guys let him off this easy. I don't know, man. I have no idea. But the only good thing that came out of this, in my opinion, is a 7 years probation. Let's see if it's an actual 7 years probation. Let's see if they don't reduce that after this is no longer in the news. But, at the end of the day, I would like to say this guy learned from this. I don't think he learned from this. I don't think he's remorseful. I think he meant to hurt the guy. I think that, it's just... this guy is part of this prison movement in bodybuilding that bodybuilding does not want. All these jailbirds, shot callers, gangbangers, they put on some muscle and now they're part of the bodybuilding world. Well, we don't want y'all in the bodybuilding world. Stay in the, GP, stay in the prison life, but we don't want you in the bodybuilding world. This has nothing to do with bodybuilding, jumping somebody on a 5-to-1 or beating up and imprisoning your girlfriend. That's not bodybuilding.